Hi everyone, it's Jenny. I had planned a much different video today for you, but we'll do that one later. I think that this one is far more important. In the process of looking for a good spot for the video that I wanted to do, I ran into some alarming trends on my own property. To give a little bit of background, my husband Dave and I have owned this property since 2002. So we've been here for 17 years, so we know what was here, what is here now, what we've planted, what's died, all those sorts of things, and we're very familiar with our yard and our hillside. We own about an acre, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the entire back section is forested, and we cherish that. We took what once was like a deer path and turned it into a small hiking path. The tree that I'm leaning on is the largest oak that was standing on the property, and it was a red oak. And for any of you who got the chicken of the woods mushrooms from me a few years ago, this is that oak that it came from. So a few years ago, right after this tree fell, I noticed something peculiar. We live on a south-facing slope. We're on the mountain. Our house is in the mountain, actually. And this is a very dry, southwest facing slope, so we expect the forest to be such that it can survive in dry conditions. We had a lot of red oaks, which is what this one was. We have some beeches. Beeches are kind of everywhere. Things that would survive on those dry hillsides. A few years back when this thing fell though, I noticed that we had a patch of paw-paws. Now I'm not arguing, I love paw-paws, but paw-paws like to grow in lowland areas. And it's a bit concerning because we are almost to the top of the hillside. So my immediate thought was, well, there must be a spring under there or something that's feeding them and keeping them moist, because they won't grow on a dry hillside like this. So that was the first thing. It was kind of strange. I'm not going to argue with paw-paws being here because, hey, I like them. I didn't plant them. Probably a squirrel planted them, I'm not sure. And just down the hill from us, across the street, on the property across from us, is actually a stream. So it wouldn't be completely unheard of, but the slope is very steep and just takes an upward turn, and so I wouldn't expect it to be here. I would expect it maybe at the bottom of our property. So that was the first clue that something was up. And yesterday when I was coming up, I noticed, well, we have been losing a lot of our red oaks, which is very odd. Are really big red oaks. I mean, this one's huge. I don't think that I can even do it justice to tell you how big it is. At its base, the diameter breast height, which is about neck height to me, it was at least 45-50 inches in diameter. This thing had probably been here for 250 years. We're not only losing this one, but we're losing a lot of our other old red oaks. Yesterday, I noticed a white oak, which, hey, it's an oak. Most people would say, hey, it's an oak, who cares? I care. The reason I care is that white oaks generally like moister soils. That, coupled with the paw-paws, is giving me some really serious heartburn. I love, ecosystems. It's what I deal with every day. I see things as cycles and in systems. I don't see things in a linear way. And I see how all these things are working together. So the loss of the red oaks and the increased paw-paw patch this year, I'll note that it's bigger than it was last year, and the fact that I'm seeing white oaks now on this site is a little bit of a cause for alarm. This has happened in the last 5 years. These trees were fine about 7 years ago. They're, like I said, all the red oaks now have tip death, they're dying back, the root systems are dying back, and part of that, I believe, is because there's too much moisture on this site, which is odd because it is a south-facing mountain site. So what that tells me is that we have some significant climate change in my immediate microclimate right here that's happening. And I'm gonna need to make some really serious adjustments to what I've been planting and what my expectations are for this forest. We are going to have to make some adjustments and adapt to what we expect from this ecosystem. Now, oaks in general are really fantastic. I'll get into that in another video. I'm not going to argue about an oak. You know, as far as ecosystem value, I'm pretty happy that it was an oak replacing an oak and not something else. But I am concerned because of the moisture levels, and what that's telling me is that in the last 5 years, our moisture has increased to the point that it has completely changed my ecosystem. Now, I noticed this year, in addition to the trees, I noticed that we have far fewer birds, and the wrens did not nest in my on my potting bench like they usually do. I have a row of pots on the top that I just leave there intact. I never move them, and that's specifically for the wrens to nest in them. I've had them there every year since we've been here, but not this year. I've also seen far fewer birds. We've had bluebirds here, we've had cardinals, tufted titmice, all kinds of birds. This year, I don't know if you can hear, it's silent. I have no birds calling right now. It's very weird to me. And initially I thought that was because of coyotes, you know, taking them out, and that still could be. I know we have had a coyote uptick, you know, a population uptick, but I really feel like this ecosystem is changing to the point that the plant ecosystem is changing to the point that it's changing my birds and other things. And I'm really going to have to be careful about what I select to plant in my garden just below this, knowing that this has already shifted, you know, uphill. It's giving me some ideas. I mean, I know that at least I can grow pawpaws in my yard. Yard is a operative word. I have a septic field and I can plant around it, but I can't plant on it. I have very few places that I can plant, and I've been working on planting those out with pollinator species and things to feed the critters. Because I know we have turkeys, and I saw turkeys this year, so that's great. That's one species of bird, but honestly, it's very concerning to not hear anything right now. And I noticed that right off the bat this year, that the birds were not singing like they normally have been. So, and I just last night when I was here and I saw that white oak, everything just sort of fell into place, and it's a very eerie feeling. I've worked in this field for a really long time, since 1991, if you can believe it. So for a really long time, and I've watched some of these things shift. I've never seen it happen so fast, and I've never seen it on this property before. This was within the last 5 years that it's shifted, and I'm very concerned. Look, it's driven me to drink. So it's really scary, and we really need to consider how we're going to garden in the future and what we're providing for this new ecosystem, because everything's going to shift. These critters are going to need food. The plants are going to need to change. Things that you could grow before are not going to grow well, and things that you grew before may go crazy now. So, you know, be cautious about what you put in, because you may get yourself into some trouble. I do have I have shifted my plan already in my brain about what I'm gonna be putting up here, and because this tree fell right on our path, we were having to reroute around it. I don't want to take the tree out if we can help it. We may cut a notch in it to keep our path where it was, but I would really like to boost the new ecosystem here to make sure that the critters have something to eat, because as it shifts, there are fewer and fewer things for them to eat, the old species to eat, and so they're leaving, and the new species haven't found it yet. And so right now I think that's what's happening. I'm in this limbo, and I believe that's why I don't have birds right now, and I haven't seen any squirrels. It's really strange. It's like the apocalypse. I don't know how to describe it, but for somebody who sees that sort of stuff every day, and then to come home and nothing is happening in your landscape, there's nothing alive other than the plants, it's very eerie. So that was kind of what I wanted to talk about today. The climate crisis is here. I'm seeing it in my own yard. My friend Hannah might have posted, you might have read her comment. Hannah, I feel ya. Cheers. She notices it too. I mean, she grows a lot of stuff as well, and we who pay attention to our gardens are seeing this shift already, and it just was a big smack in the face for me yesterday. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, and I'll probably post some more things as I find them in this new landscape, because this is very new now. There are things here growing that weren't up here before, and things that are no longer here that I'm used to seeing. So yeah, the shift was pretty abrupt, and I'm really sad about it. But I do have a Paw-paw patch, so I can show you that. That's my Paw-paw patch right there. I'm pretty stoked about it, because eventually I'll have Paw-paws out of it. I'm gonna have to take the greenbrier off of it because it's gonna tear it down, but I'm just gonna have to get used to it. So yes, I'm here to answer any questions you have. I'm probably gonna put together a really good plant list for you all that are of pollinator species, perennials, shrubs, and trees that can live just about anywhere, because I think that's going to be really important in the future. I've written papers about it, and one of the main things I say is we need to pick species that are going to be able to live in both droughty times as well as times of flooding. And so we need to be really careful about what species we pick, and I think that's the situation we're in right now. We're going to have to pick the species that can survive those big shifts in our weather, because that's what happens. It's weather. It's not, and the climate's going to be more variable over time, meaning from year to year we may have a drought one year, and the next year we may have inundation, which is exactly what we were in, last summer. Believe it or not, we went into May with a deficit of rain, a pretty significant deficit, and then we left the year plus 25 inches of rain over what we normally get, which is about 40. So we ended up with about 65 inches of precipitation last year, but we came into the season with a deficit. So we need to be cognizant of those kinds of things, because that's, I think, what we're in for the foreseeable future. So let's get used to it. Have a beer or a wine or a whatever, and I'll check back in with you, hopefully with a list of perennials, shrubs, and trees. And in the meantime, I'm gonna do the video that I had intended to do sometime in the next week. I will catch you guys later. Have a good night. Ponder climate crisis. I hear a bird. One bird. It's very exciting. All right, sign off for now. Good night. Happy gardening.